Welcome back to another episode of Multifamily AP360, and today's our guest is Bishoy M. Habib from Levacy Legal. So welcome, Bishay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bishay. Would you share a little bit more about yourself, how you started into real estate space and also legal side?
Yeah, so I grew up in real estate, as I like to tell people. My father was in real estate and everybody else in my family was in the medical field, but I never liked science. I was never good at it. I always liked numbers. I always liked just being a little bit more of an entrepreneur and a hustler. And so I gravitated towards real estate. I liked the freedom and flexibility it gave my dad where he could take time off when he needed. I helped negotiate my first commercial lease when I was 15 years old with the state of Florida as the tenant. So that was a pretty cool experience for me. And I did that with my dad. And when I did that, I felt empowered. I felt confident. And this was before Microsoft Word. This was back in the day when it was all handwritten and faxed and stuff. I've always wanted to be on this path towards real estate, and I went to law school. And I didn't really plan to practice as an attorney, but the market was very soft when I got out in 2012 out of law school. So I took a job in New York, a very good job in New York, working for the biggest hotel developer in Manhattan's history, actually, Sam Chang. And 2 years in the city working on big deals was a phenomenal experience, eye-opening experience. And then I ended up moving back down to Florida for family reasons. And so I've been here ever since in the Tampa Bay region and slowly honed my craft, gotten better at what I did, focused on real estate, business, finance, law. And then one day you look up and it's been 12 years since you graduated law school, and you become very good at what you do and you really enjoy what you do and you know how much you can help people and how much value you can bring to people. And 11 years out, which was a year ago now, I started my own law firm called Levacy Legal, the name meaning I wanted to help clients leave a legacy. And that's what I do every day. I help clients leave a legacy through real estate, business, and estate planning as well. And so 1 year in, the journey's been tremendous. We are growing at a very rapid rate. I just hired a new attorney yesterday, and we are on a very awesome trajectory right now. So it's a very exciting time.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your background, how you started. So share me a little bit about your services, how exactly you're helping real estate investors from legal point of view. So why like real estate attorney should be in your team?
Yeah, so I think real estate attorneys are underutilized and underappreciated in the sense of how much they can help you in the beginning of a transaction or before you enter a transaction and also during the transaction. Unfortunately, a lot of my clients come to me too late, and it doesn't mean we can't do anything, but we have much more limited options at the end whenever the issue happens a lot of times. And 100% of the time, it's going to be more expensive to resolve on the back end than it is on the front end. On the front end, it could be as simple as putting one sentence in a contract, right? Which is a nominal fee. But if you don't put that one sentence, that could cost you tens of thousands of dollars on the back end, right? Or it could cost you a deal, or it could tie up a property for years. It's like the patient who goes to the doctor after they've been eating unhealthy and they're morbidly obese, and it's been 10 years or 20 years of doing that, right? You really, if you get ahead of it and you start those healthy habits slowly early on, you don't ever get to that point where there is an issue, right? You get it in advance. And so preventative medicine, if you will, right? So I like to say practice preventative law, right? So we get ahead of the issue beforehand and it never becomes an issue. Or if it does, we can mitigate it much easier. So I think that's the importance of having a real estate attorney early on, before you sign the LOI, before you sign the contract, while you're doing your due diligence, while you're doing your title search. Those are the times that you need to have an attorney involved, not after the fact when the mistakes have been made.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So what could be the reason why investor reaching out a little bit later compared to initial, even before or submitting invoice or something like that?
Yeah, the reason people do it is because they think they're saving money. And so a lot of people, I think it's a very short-sighted way to do business. I think it's a very small-minded way to do business. I totally understand for a new investor, if you're buying your first single family home, you may not want to spend whatever money on an attorney in advance, and you may get away with it for a little while. But the more sophisticated you become, the bigger the properties that you're buying, the more money that you have at stake, you absolutely need to have an attorney involved. Even if you've been lucky and you've avoided any issues to this point, your luck can only go so long. And so even if you're doing everything right, and a lot of my clients, they do a lot of things, but it doesn't matter if you do something right or wrong, people can still sue you and they can still come after you and they can still cost you a lot of money in legal fees, right? Even if you didn't do anything wrong. And that's just the litigious society we live in today in America. So get ahead of it, have an attorney there that can really protect you at every step of the way. And what might cost you $5 today, if you don't pay that $5, could cost you $100 tomorrow, right? So don't think of it as how much am I saving today? Think of it, how much would that cost me tomorrow? And I think with that perspective, that makes it a little bit easier to understand why you should pay that money on the front end.
Yeah, good point. Thank you. So what areas you would support to investors, and what kind of asset classes you support?
So I have done a ton of residential real estate. I've done over 1,000 residential closings and deals in my career. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty simple. I still work with a ton of brokerages, realtors, agents, and in small investors who just buy single family. So I can do that. Where I like to be now, I don't market that. It's just when it comes in, excuse me. What I like to do now is the commercial side. I've always, even since I was a kid, I always liked the commercial real estate. I just thought it was fascinating. I love that it's more numbers driven, less emotions. I love that it's bigger numbers, higher risk, higher reward. So for me, the commercial space, I really enjoy doing the most. And the asset class, really, it doesn't matter. I've done pretty much every asset class. I've done a ton of office. I've done a ton of multifamily. I've done some warehouse. So done some self-storage, and we're doing a lot of land right now. So it really just, it doesn't matter. But from a legal perspective, there's definitely some differences, but there's also some fundamental things that remain the same throughout. As an investor, though, very different, right? The asset classes you go in, it's hard to really skip around because they're so different in how you value them and how you manage them and what's important for each asset class. But as an attorney, there's a little bit more consistency throughout each asset class on the commercial side. So that makes my job a little easier.
Sure. Thank you very much. And you mentioned good point there. So would you share difference between residential versus commercial, and also commercial, they are different asset class, but it will be different from legal point of view.
From a legal perspective, I would say that on the residential side, the problems we see are pretty consistent. With the residential stuff, there's only so many issues that we typically see. And there might be 5 or 6 issues that are 90% of the problems, right? 90% of the time, those are the issues. So it's not really hard to, once you pick up and you do them a few times, you understand how it goes. There's always crazy things that happen, but it's not, if you do 1,000 residential closings, there might be 1 or 2 where you're just baffled. You've never seen it before. With the commercial, every transaction has its own story. It could be a smooth 30-day close, could be a 2-year close, right? Could be all kinds of environmental issues. It could be title issues that date back 100 years and now you have to figure out how to unwind them, right? It could be litigation. There's a lot more litigation on commercial because there's a lot more money at stake and because the stakeholders have the money to throw at litigation, right? So could be a plethora of reasons, but the commercial stuff is in most cases a lot more complex and a lot more convoluted and can take a lot longer to close. The residential, a 30-day close is pretty standard in residential, 40 days, whatever. If you do a 30-day close on a commercial property, that's very quick. That's very quick. Those are some of the differences, I would say.
Yeah. Thank you. So would you share any complicated scenarios or complicated case you handled?
Yeah, we are dealing with a environmental issue right now on a commercial property that we're looking at. I represent the buyer and we had a phase 1. It came back with issues. They recommended a phase 2 and the phase 2 was not good. So there's remediation that's required. And so it's a large sum of money. And so now we're negotiating on behalf of the buyer to try to get the seller down. We are trying to figure out what the most cost-effective way to do it because at the current price point, the sellers don't want to sell and give a credit, and the buyers aren't going to pay for the whole remediation. That's an issue that I don't want to say that's common, but it's not uncommon to have environmental, right? Depending on what it was. I think this was like a tire yard before, so they were burning tires. It's not, it's pretty predictable. Like it's not that crazy that something that was used for that purpose before could have environmental issues. So at this point, we're negotiating. We're trying to figure out who's going to pay for the remediation. The buyers don't have to chip in. They can cancel the contract, but they want the property. And so they're trying to see how much will the sellers pay for that property, for that remediation on that property. So that's something we get pretty frequently.
Got it. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Let's switch towards other aspects of, from investing or brokerage side. So what makes you start brokerage firm or investing side?
Yeah, I was approached by one of my good friends, Jake Schmidt, last year, top producing agent in Tampa, and we've been friends for a while. And actually, it was on my bachelor party that we had been talking about it before then, but that's when we decided to actually do it, which was last year. And before I got married, and we put pen to paper, we started mapping it out, and we decided to do it. I have my broker's license, so did he. He had a team of pretty much 17, 18 agents ready to go day one. So that's what we launched with. We have a third partner, Gabe Kozel, who's just an absolute genius with systems, processes, managing a CRM, outreach, things like that. So together we put our heads together and put together an awesome brokerage, Capstar Real Estate, based in Tampa Bay, but operate throughout, Central Florida. And we try to operate on a couple key principles, being innovative, being creative, and finding off-market properties for our buyers. So I think that's something that we've earned a good reputation here in the Tampa Bay area. And we got a lot of momentum behind us. We also have the investment side, Capstar Investment, which is doing phenomenal now. And so we've been able to find a ton of off-market opportunities. We got a team of people working full time on that. And so I think between those two businesses and the law firm, it gives me a good pulse on what's going on in the real estate world, right? Because I get it from all different angles. So it's very, very neat.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Would you elaborate on like how exactly you do creative deals or off market deals? Like most of the brokers, they have direct contact with sellers or some other way. It's like off market only, right? They generate leads off market only. So how exactly your company is unique or different from all other brokerage firms?
Yeah, how are we unique? That's a great question. We are unique because first of all, the three partners come from very diverse backgrounds. So me being legal, business, and finance, that's my expertise. Jake being a top producing agent, he understands how the retail side works. And then, like I said, he's a wholesaler by trade. He's been doing that. He was doing that for several years before he came on board. So he knows that world. He knows the off market world. He knows how to connect with off market sellers. So when the three of us put our heads together, it's almost like three completely different skill sets, three different personalities, but really when you put them together, it's dynamite. That's where I would start. We are able to leverage technology with AI, with our skill set, our knowledge base, and most importantly, maybe our network to piece together processes and systems that really nobody's doing except maybe the big boys. And honestly, sometimes the big boys, we realize they're not doing it either because we talk to them. So we're really doing something that's revolutionizing, I think, the way that land is going to be purchased by builders. That's a project we're working on the investment side where we're finding off-market land for builders. Right now we're in Florida, but we will eventually be national on that project. We've teamed up with land veterans of 30 plus years who have proprietary software. We're leveraging that software with our outreach technology with AI. We just hired a full-time sales guy who's a killer in the land side of things. And we have a list of builders, local, regional, and even national, that are knocking on our doors to try to find off-market land that fits their buy box right now. So it's an awesome way to conduct business. It's different from the old school way of driving for dollars, shaking hands, keeping in touch with an owner for 20 years and hoping he'll sell. That worked in the 80s and 90s. It's 2024. Unfortunately, a lot of these builders have not caught up with the times. Even the big builders, the national ones that you and I know, they are still living in the 80s and 90s in terms of their processes for finding dirt. And so we're trying to revolutionize that. There's absolutely a market for it. We are in the process of honing it, making it more efficient. And I think that's one of the things that separates and distinguishes us from the others.
Yeah, thank you. So how are you leveraging AI, especially finding lands or other asset classes?
Yeah, so I hired at my law firm about a couple months ago now. I hired an AI specialist. And so we talk every day. He consults with me. He is phenomenal. He is building out several different processes, automations, programs, case uses, let's call them, for AI within the law firm.
Yeah,
We also now are starting to use him on the real estate side, the Capstar side. We had a phenomenal call with him yesterday. We're going to start experimenting with the AI callers. That's literally in progress as we speak. We'll have that up and running in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Initial tests have shown that they actually work, not our test, but from his other clients. So we're very excited about that. We're always trying to optimize our efficiency. I use AI every single day of my life now. It may be very rudimentary sometimes where I'm just hopping on Claude 3.5 or ChatGPT and typing a question. Obviously the most easy, simple, basic way to use it.
yeah,
But there are times where we're using it in more complex ways, workflows, automations, things like that, summarizing notes, summarizing videos. That's still pretty intuitive. That doesn't even scratch the surface of what it can do. But I am a huge proponent of artificial intelligence and getting ahead of it. I work in an industry, which is the legal field, where we're a laggard industry by nature. We're always 5 or 10 or 15 years behind what's actually happening in the world. And so I just figure if I could get ahead of it, even for a year or 2 years, I would have this huge competitive advantage against 95% of attorneys. And so I'm leaning heavily into it. It's not natural for me. I'm not a big tech guy by nature, but I'm trying to become one. The use of artificial intelligence is changing the world. So you can either adapt or get left behind. It's up to you.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And so far, how many transactions you guys did and what kind of asset classes, what markets? So where exactly you're planning to go next 12 to 18 months?
You talking about on Capstar or the
Yeah,
law
Capstar.
firm?
Capstar.
Okay. Yeah, we launched last year. We haven't even hit 1 year yet as a company. We've probably closed 30 something or 40 transactions at this point, but we haven't even hit our stride yet. We're constantly optimizing our business. Like I said, we just brought on a full-time employee here in Tampa, a sales guy. And so that's going to make a big difference. We have 11 or 12 full-time employees in Costa Rica. And so we have not been utilizing them properly because we're still figuring it out, right? It's a new business. So we just started a new training program for them that we think is going to be dynamite. And in the first 2 weeks, they've already locked up more contracts, than any other 2 week period since we hired them. So the number now is, like I said, maybe in the 30s, maybe 40, but we think that we could hit another 30 or 40 before the year's over in the next 4 or 5 months. And then from there, we have very ambitious goals of scaling. The future is bright. We've done gas station deals, we've done land deals, we've done single family deals. We're trying to do like a multifamily deal. That one is taking a little longer because there's a lot more red tape around it, but we're in different asset. We've done a warehouse deal. So we're in different asset classes. And at the end of the day, we just surround ourselves with smart people and use our network to learn how to do things and then do it the best way possible.
Yeah. So what's your average transaction size?
Our average what? Transaction size?
Yeah.
It's all over the place. We have deals that are $100,000, like on a single family property in a undesirable location, maybe. We have a piece of land that we locked up recently for over $5 million. The multifamily project I was telling you about, that would be over $100 million. Now we're not building the multifamily. We're just helping structure the deal and put it together. But that would be $100 million exit in 3 or 4 or 5 years, whenever it actually breaks ground. So they're all over the place. But I would definitely say that we're more eager to get more in the commercial space and we're breaking into it. We have a gas station, a $9 million gas station that we have on a contract. That's more exciting to us. Obviously, the spreads are higher. The clients are a little bit easier to deal with. Funny enough, when you're dealing with like smaller single family investors, it's just not investors, but owners of single family homes. It may actually be a lot harder to deal with them than it would be on a $5 million commercial real estate property, because that buyer or that owner might be more in tune with what's going on, right? More sophisticated, more up to date with the reality versus somebody who's just not a business person but owns a property. A lot of those people might be stuck in 2020 or 2021 with the home prices, and so they don't have a grasp of reality. So we like the commercial space. We're slowly edging into it.
Yeah, got it. So what's your company's plan from next 12 to 24 months? So from both legal side and also brokerage side.
Yeah, so the law firm side, we're planning to 2x in the next year. And that's being on the conservative side, because again, we're only a second year we just hit our second year. Like, we're starting our second year. So to double what we did last year, honestly, would be a bare minimum. We want to do better. Like I said, I brought on a new attorney. We want to ramp up our marketing. We went from having one marketing platform in as recently as March or April, and now we have about 5 or 6, and I'm always open to more. Some of them are expensive, some of them are free. The marketing is where I've been focusing lately, right? And it's definitely reaping benefits. I have my YouTube, I have an Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, all of it. I'm at Attorney Bishoy, so give me a follow. I've been very active on there, so I want to blow that up as well. As far as the Capstar side of things, we're also in hyper growth. We want to do more than 2x. We haven't even been around a year, but we think we could match our revenue for the last 8 months in the next 4 months. And we think we could do even better. It just continues to rise because we are investing money. All the money we're making, we're reinvesting. We're not taking out any dividends, profits, distributions right now. We're putting it all right back into people, good salesperson, the AI consultant, the technology, the other employees that we have. All that money is just being dumped into them so we could build something that nobody else has built. And so that's what we're most excited about, is changing the land game. That's a big part of it as well. That project that I touched on, that's something we're very excited about as well. So we got super exciting things on the horizon all around.
Awesome. Thank you. So would you share any habits that are helping you to be successful?
Staying consistent is the hardest thing. Whether you're up or down, whether you had a good day or a bad day, whether you have a win or a loss, I think staying consistent. It's a lot harder to stay consistent. It's like the analogy they always give is like, is it better to do 5 hours at the gym one day or to do 1 hour a day at the gym? And the answer is it's better to do 1 hour every day versus to spend 5 hours at the gym in one day, right? You get more done over time and more accomplished over those 5 days. So it's not about how hard you go one day or 1 month or 1 year. It's about trying to stay disciplined and try to stay consistent. So with that in mind, I try to keep, as much consistency in this crazy real estate game and legal game that we have. So morning routine, consistent. The night routine, I try to keep consistent. You start your day and then there comes a certain point in your day, especially as like an attorney, when everyone's calling you. Once you start getting that first call, you've lost control of the day, right? Once I open my emails, I've lost control of the day. But that first 30 minutes or hour or whatever I give myself, that's my time. And so that's what I do. I wake up, I stretch every morning, do a little yoga. I throw on YouTube or something that I'm like, what do I want to focus on that day? Could be inspirational, could be the news from the stock market crash. Why is the market crashing right now? Could be what's going on in the real estate world, but something where I stimulate my brain and get thinking. And then after, let's say 30, 45 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on that morning, then I'll get into my day. And then from that point on, I'm super locked into that. I hit the gym every single day. I don't miss a day at the gym, 7 days a week if I can, but definitely 6 days. And then try to carve out time for the wife. I got married last year, so I try to give at least an hour a day. It's dinner or whatever, just locked in on that. So you just got to focus on the things that be in the moment, right? That's the hard part. So those are the things that my day consists of. And when you stay consistent, you really see gains over time. Absolutely. Not in one night, not in 1 week, not in 1 month, but 2, 3 months, you start feeling a big difference.
Cool. So any personal learning that played major role in your growth?
Any personal learning?
Yeah.
Yeah, reading books is a really lost art. Not that I'm this huge book reader. You can actually see my book collection right there. I do have a good amount of books. I had never read a book until 2019, not on my own for self-help, right? Like I'd read school books and law books, but I'm saying I never just picked up a book and said, I want to read this for me until 2019. And so it changed my life in a lot of ways. It helps you stay disciplined, especially like I told myself, and I'm not as good at it right now because I'm so busy, but 30 minutes a day, every day, no exceptions, I would read. And I got in a habit of doing it before I slept, and it helped me sleep. But that is a habit that changed my life. There's a couple books that definitely helped me. Grit by Angela Duckworth was one of my favorite books I ever read. There's people underestimate it, and people don't like reading, and this generation can't even look at their phone for 10 seconds without swiping, right? 10 seconds is too long. We got 3 seconds of attention span. There's a good way to combat that. Just take a paper book and just read it for 30 minutes or an hour at a time, and you'll be amazed what you learn. You still learn a lot from books and help you think a little differently than you think now.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So you mentioned one book or any other book that impacted you recently?
I'm currently reading the book called Buy Back Your Time. And the reason I'm reading it is because I watched an interview with a billionaire, and they asked him, what makes you a billionaire and someone else, can't even make $20 an hour, but you're the same. We're both humans. We both have 24 hours a day. What makes you so successful versus someone else? And he says, I read a book called Buy Back My Time, Buy Back Your Time, and it changed my life because it taught me how to value time. We all have time, and as you get older, it becomes the most valuable asset you have. And you may not realize it when you're younger, but when you're older, it's the most important thing you have. So that book teaches you that you should not be doing tasks that you can delegate to someone else who is not able to do the tasks that you can do. So I'll give you an example in my legal field, as the owner of a law firm. When I first started solo, I didn't have anybody. It was just me. So answering calls, sending invoices, following up with clients, all that stuff. And everybody does it when they start. A year in, I'm at a point where I don't even make my own schedule. I don't have my own calendar. I don't send invoices. I don't set up calls. I'm not on the phone unless I have to be on the phone, right? So that's what's been transformational. And now what do? It's not like I sit back on the beach and don't do anything. With that time I've saved, I reinvest that time into the higher level of the business. And as any business owner knows, one of the biggest things you could do, and especially in the legal field, is bring in business and bring in good quality business and bring in high quality clients, consistent business. And so that's where my time has been going recently, is to those high value things that you can't do when you're stuck in the weeds. And so that's the whole concept of the book, is stop spending time doing administrative tasks, because your time is worth more than that. Delegate those to someone else, elevate yourself. And what happens is you're just creating even more work for those people, right? Which is what they want. So by you stepping out and being a little bit higher, that's a win for everybody. And you bring on more people, you feed more families, you make a bigger impact. And that's the way that I try to do things. So that's the book I'm currently reading, which I'm absolutely all in on.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So how can listeners can connect with you, Bishay?
So listeners can connect with me. I'm on, as I mentioned, I'm on my socials: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. It's at Attorney Bishoy. So attorney spelled out Bishoy. That's the best way to connect with me. I'm on LinkedIn, Bishoy M Habib, as I think you could see on my name down there. My law firm's name is Levacy Legal, Levacy Legal. 813-553-2699. And then the brokerage is Capstar Real Estate, and the website's capstarfl.com.
Awesome. And thank you very much, Bishay. Thank you. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you so much, Ram. I appreciate you.
Thank you.